Welcome to Take 5, your 5-minute inspirational message from Solid Rock Drogheda. My name is Nick Park, and yesterday I was sharing about a miraculous provision where God enabled me to drive 200 miles home on an empty petrol tank of a car. And there's different kinds of miracles. Even when you look at the miracles of the Bible, some of the miracles are where you say that's impossible by the laws of nature. Others are miracles in the sense that they're not impossible, but they just required an extremely unlikely series of events to happen all at the right moment in time. An example would be, for example, whenever the disciples had to pay the temple tax, and Jesus told Peter to go down and cast a line into the water, and he pulls up a fish, and the fish has a coin in its mouth. And now there was no law of nature that had to be broken for that to happen. A coin can drop into the water. A fish can swallow a coin. You can catch that fish. You can find the coin in its mouth, and it can be at exactly the right moment when you need that precise amount of money to pay that tax. But no law of nature has been broken. So we're really looking at two categories of miracles there. One is where you say that's impossible by the laws of nature. The other one is just, well, that has to be God, because it's like 1 in a billion chance of these things happening just that way. And what I want to share with you today was actually, it's nothing to do with laws of nature being broken, but it certainly was a set of events that was so improbable and so unlikely that I couldn't describe it to anything other than God, the activity of God. I was driving out to where we were trying to start a church, and I took a young man along with me, trying to mentor him a little bit, trying to help him to get a deeper grasp of Christian things and what it was to serve the Lord. And so we're driving along in the car, and as we're driving down from Drogheda, he's saying, "Nick, I've never seen God do a miracle of provision before. I hear you testifying how God provided, God did this. I've never seen God do that." And I said, "Well, you'd better start praying then." And he said, "Why?" I said, "Because we've got a good drive tonight. We've only got enough petrol to get there. We don't have any money to get home. So you'd better pray that some money comes in." He started praying. In fact, I'd never seen this young man pray so hard before. Now it had got personal. Well, anyway, we were going around the M50 and we got to the toll there. And now, of course, it's all automatic. Hopefully you have the tag in your car. If not, you got to go online and pay the toll within 24 hours. But this was back before all that was so you had the toll booths. And you had the toll booths where you could stop and pay by cash, or you had the ones that had baskets and you would drop the coins in for the right amount. And it was 70 pence to go through the toll. Well, there I am. I'm coming up to the toll, and actually I had 70 pence on me. That's all the money I had in the world. It was 70 pence. And it was in my pocket. So I knew I had the right change. So I go into the lane that takes you through the basket for having the right change. And in front of me, there's this car. Now, it's a BMW, nice looking car. And I think it had Galway plates on it. And suddenly, he had obviously gone into the wrong lane and didn't have the right change. He started reversing back towards me, not looking in his mirror, I guess. And I could see what was going to happen. I tried to hit the horn, but the horn didn't work because I was driving such a beat up old car. The horn didn't even work on it. I mean, it was a wreck of a car. And this guy reversed into me. Well, by the way, I looked at the guy next to me. Young man, he's still praying. It's like he hasn't even heard or felt the impact. So I wind the window down, and the guy comes up. He says, "Look, I'm really, really sorry. My wife's having a baby. I can't afford for the police to come. This will cover the cost of the damage." And he reached into his pocket, pulled out a wad of banknotes, and threw the money through the window of the car. Then he goes back in his car and he's off. And I'm sat there covered in banknotes. The young man beside me, I to this day, I think this was a bigger miracle than the guy giving me the money, that this young man beside me didn't seem to hear any of this going on. He's just praying away like this. So I tap him on the shoulder and I said, "It's okay, you can stop praying now." And he turns and he looks at me, and I'm covered in money. And he's like looking at the roof of the car. Did angels drop it through the roof or whatever? But I explained what had happened. And I said, did you not hear this? Did you not feel the impact? Did you not hear what was going on? He said, "No, I was praying." Well, Needless to say, we got to where we were going. We put fuel in the car, had plenty of money left over. It was a great night, actually. But I learned a lesson that day, but this young man beside me, he learned a lesson that day. And I know there were other times in his life when he had to stand before the Lord in prayer, and the Lord met his need. The Lord answered his prayers. The Lord has been answering prayers so many times. One thing I have discovered, you know what, looking back on it, all we needed was a small provision there, a small miracle. Like 20 quid would have been enough to get us back down there and back again. Everything sorted okay. God provided more, but what I have learned is this: there's been times when I've had to pray to God and trust God for much larger sums of money and much greater provisions. But I have discovered this, that with God there's no small miracle or big miracle. It's all the same to God. It's all the same to God if he's providing 20 million to meet a need, or 20 million to meet a need, or just 20 euros to meet a need. It's no difference to God. He can do it. He can provide it. God provided that day. There was two of us in that car, and we both learned a lesson about God's provision. I pray you will know God as your provider as you pursue him and do his will. May God bless you in Jesus' name. Join us again next time for another Take 5, your 5-minute inspirational message from Solid Rock Drogheda.